Is the early morning of October 27th, 2016. This is the Bold Like a Leopard um, video series, and we're coming to you talking about Obamacare today. And like I've been writing on my opinion page, also on the blog a little, why is it that Obamacare is such a passionate subject for me? I think that you'll start to get an idea that you see some of these people on the radio, or hear them rather. Mark Levin, for example, that they've been whining about it for years and years, and they can't understand why people aren't as pissed off as people like them are. But let's be real here. We're talking about a problem that they themselves have never gone and accurately conveyed to the American people. And the fact is that Republicans have been a failure when it came to health care. There was no initiative during the Bush administration to address the very real needs for health care. So what happened is that they punted the ball to the Democrats in 2008. And of course, you have this massive clusterfuck now that is called the Affordable Care Act. So I had this graphic on that you see on screen at Bold Like a Leopard, BOLD, like a leopard. Um, Bold in caps at Facebook. It's called Never Ever Forget. If you like your plan, you can keep it. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. All discrimination against pre-existing conditions will be prohibited. You will have the same kind of choice of private health insurers that members of Congress get for themselves. Well, all of these promises are just a handful of the ones that were given to the American public in 2009 to 2010, while the healthcare plan, the healthcare bill, Affordable Care Act, patient provided Affordable Care Act, I think is the full name of it, and none of these came true. So how about we go and figure out why is it that Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, is engendering such strong feelings among people, has engendered them, when in reality a lot of them never took the effort to understand it, myself included. There's people that backed it and never really understood the ramifications of it. They believed that they were getting something for nothing. And on the other hand, there were a lot of people who, let's be fair to President Obama, he did make an effort to go and pass a health care bill, whereas before there had been no solution put forward by the Bush administration. Excuse me. I just coughed up some bile. Um, so this whole presentation is really my effort to improve my video presentation. It used to be I just go online and show you what I'm looking at. I realized I might want to get a little more organized in this respect. Background of the day, the Chicago Cubs have just tied up the World Series with the Indians. So I'm in sort of a good mood. I am going for the Cubs. I have a lot of friends that are obviously Indians fans. I'm born and raised here in Ohio, but WGN America, WGN America, suck it Obama, you White Sox fake. Well, I guess he did stay with that team while he was at the White House. So how did this whole discussion start with me? Let's go. I'm going to summarize a real quick story. I have never heard until a couple months ago at work any supporter of comprehensive health care reform. I think that's what it's euphemistically called in the media. Healthcare reform, or whatever you want to call it. I've never seen or heard somebody actually explain the rationale behind Obamacare until I met somebody at work. Very nice guy. He's an immigrant from South America. Legal immigrant, has been here for a few decades. Very engaging person, and he did go and he made the case that the three, and maybe it's just in his mind. I don't know if this is really the way Obamacare is supporters conceived of it as being. But he said that there are three responsibilities that government must provide, and otherwise it really has no effectiveness and doesn't serve the citizenry. And those are A, education, B, healthcare, and C, defense. I think healthcare would probably have been A, so it would be healthcare, education, and defense. And in his mind, this provision of healthcare at an affordable price for millions of uninsured Americans, just like President Obama had asked, was the good that was the good intention of Obamacare, and we shouldn't disparage it. Now, bear in mind, this was a couple months ago. It was before a lot of these sensational stories were coming about. That I mean, all the stuff on this graphic before were already known, but people had really gone and processed that Obamacare was here to stay. They didn't realize that even if it has been a couple years since the passage of the bill, the structure of the actual system is actually inherently flawed. It cannot sustain itself. So, my friend, let's call him Felipe. I don't know. Felipe was under the understanding that Obamacare had passed. We're not going to go back to the way it was, so it's irrelevant whatever failures it was, all the lies and I guess in their mind it would be just inaccuracies that he had committed himself to. But let's go back and talk about them first. So I went and looked at kind of a summarized version of some of the main promises of Obamacare. It was written by Sally Kohn, who I'm a huge fan of. Not. She's sort of endeared herself to my shit list. So the main point of it was that healthcare coverage at subsidized rates would extend coverage to millions of uninsured Americans. That is a promise that technically was, at least at the beginning, kept. Clients will no longer be denied coverage based on pre-existing conditions. That was definitely something that Obamacare did come through with, at least at the beginning. I think now that what is scaled that back is just that the coverage is being removed. So you can get the coverage, but you're not going to get coverage for certain procedures, or the deductible is prohibitively high, or the insurance simply won't cover certain procedures. But that's something that maybe we could do a little more research on. I'm not going to go condemn Obamacare on issues that I'm not squared away on yet. This is more about the pricing. So let's remove these graphics. It's gotten a little messy here. Hold on. Sorry. The insurance will no longer be cut off due to spending caps. All insurance plans will cover 10 essential benefits, which will include mental health, lab work, and hospitalization, with preventative care free to all insured subscribers. Millions of Americans will now be covered until the age of 26 by their parents' plan. That, for sure, is a promise that was kept. So we could put a green check mark there. So I am being fair to Obamacare. I actually was covered when the bill came into effect. I think that was 2013. I was 28, but I think I was covered when I was 26. I think that part of the bill did come into effect prior to the rest of the bill. So that is true, and we're gonna put that in the win column for Obamacare. And then the last part is that the ACA will lower the budget deficit. Now I'm gonna have to show you that part a little later on off of the presentation. So sorry, but this presentation is not comprehensive to everything, but you'll have to bear with me. So moving on from Miss Sally Cohn, the big economic genius. I don't know how CNN Money picked her to represent this, but the more famous promises, which Sally Cohn's piece was actually trying to deflect from. This was after they'd all been deflated. She was giving the positive line. So I started with the positive line too. At that time, in 2013, all of her mentioned promises were being fulfilled. But at that time, all of the big marquee promises that Obama had marketed his plans on were already completely collapsed. They just faded away as if he'd never said them. And those are the ones about, if you like your healthcare plan, you can keep it. If you like your doctorate, you can keep it. Those were lies that he said so often that PolitiFact, which is no stranger to skewing facts to the Democrat side, they called it the lie of the year of 2013. I don't know why they don't bring it up anymore. I mean, now it's really turned into a total lie. Everything about the bill is now revealed to be a lie, and yet they let it go in 2013. They said, yeah, we've already called it a lie, so we're not going to hold them accountable anymore for something they lied about in 2009 through 2012. That was first term lies. We're moving on to new lies, new, bigger, and better lies. So if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. We've already mentioned that. Insurance companies will be prohibited from watering down your coverage. Fact is that most of the plans now are being reviewed by users that they are being denied coverage for certain procedures. So that is also untrue. If you don't have insurance, you'll finally be able to afford it. Well, we're going to see soon that that's becoming a steadily vanishing mirage. It's just sinking into the quicksand, because as long as the rates keep increasing and people continue to make the same wages, then how can it remain affordable? Affordable is a relative term. So that's a promise that Obama said at the time, and it was easy for him to keep at that time, but it's becoming steadily harder for him to keep. So sorry, I just forgot one more. This law means more choice and more competition, lower costs for millions of Americans. Also, a big fat lie. We're just seeing that Obama couldn't guarantee that one, because at the end of the day, some of the plans that did not succeed in the marketplace, that did not achieve the enrollment needed, or that the insurance company was not yielding profit from, they were simply dropped. So that's just become more and more prevalent as the ACA has been unraveling this year. And 2016 has been, to his misfortune, to Obama's misfortune, a year of complete just optic nightmares for his Obamacare plan. Maybe for some of the other things where he's able to fake some good appearances, like when he appears with all these celebrities like Jay-Z and Beyonce at his birthday party and whatever. Those are things that he can make look better. But when people are actually getting shafted up the ass with Obamacare, I don't think that you can bring as many rappers as you want, but those people are not buying health insurance from state exchange. So I think that we'll keep trudging along here and go into some of the basic facts of how it was passed. So Obama did want bipartisan support back in 2009 when he took office. That automatically did not occur. And what he was talking about at that time was for a public option or for single payer health insurance. And immediately we ran into an issue that I discussed pretty deeply with Felipe today, that you have two parties that are beholden to insurance companies. You have the Democrats and the Republicans. They're not two parties that are either one of them is going to look out for the needs of the consumer. The fact is that they've been bought out by lobbyists. I'm somebody, I believe in the free market, and I recognize that. That's why I believe that you have to change the system such that the lobbyists will not have that influence. And I think there's agreement, at least on that point, between progressives and free market classical liberals like myself. So you have the conservatives who want the single payer. You have the free market liberals that just want these regulations removed and the insurance market opened up to competition. But we both want the lobbyists removed from their places of influence on the market. So that's what happened in 2009. I'm going to mark it here so you see where we are, where Senators Lincoln and Nelson of Arkansas and Florida, they both voted against President Obama's new healthcare initiative. So you had bipartisan opposition already in the Senate. And then not long afterward, Senator Feingold, who's running he's running for the Senate now. He was defeated, I think, in 2010 by a Republican, Ron Johnson, and he's trying to come back. He claimed that Obama never really went to bat for the public option or for single payer, and that it died as a result of his just cowardice. So you can see at that time progressives did already see that there's a gap between Obama's public commitment to the public option and single payer and his actual administration's effort to get it to pass. So then, failing to have achieved that, they did go and try to get this Affordable Care Act passed, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I was trying to find out where the exact source of this piece of legislation was. It seems that it came about in July 2009. I'm not sure who sponsored it. I'll have to go and do a little more research about that. It does look a little bad that I couldn't find that, but remember I had other things to do today, and this is not exactly an encyclopedia article here. I'm just giving the background for how it was passed. But what happened was that the Democrats realized they could piggyback onto the same model that Republican Governor Mitt Romney did in Massachusetts in 2006, where he created a subsidized marketplace for health insurance for his state, Massachusetts. And they realized that this is the same template that they could use to outflank the Republicans and get the insurance industry to at least play ball with the new reform. They were never happy about it, but they were able to get them to play ball with the new reform effort by including them in the process. But you'll see soon that that proved to be a very strategically unsound strategy. I'm just using that in a very careful manner. See. Okay, so what the hell? Did I double this slide? I'm sorry, everybody. I think I doubled this slide. I'm just throwing slides around here like they's free, just like I'm passing legislation that supposedly saves money, but it doesn't. So we're going into the Affordable Care Act itself. Oh wait. I think I skipped something. Anyway, I think there is a slide missing. That's what happened. But the slide that's missing, all it said was that Obamacare did pass in 2010. There was bipartisan opposition to it. There were 38 originally, 39 I believe, 39 Democrats in the House that voted against it. And one of them was Dennis Kucinich, a progressive, who said it wasn't enough. He wanted a single payer or public option. And the other 38 were blue dog Democrats who said that they were not going to support it because of its implications to the business community, and Then, in order to even get down to that number, Obama had to he had to get added to the bill the Stupak Amendment, named after a Democratic congressman from Michigan, Bart Stupak, that prohibited the use of welfare money in Obamacare. Of course, I think later we found out that that was not going to be followed. There was that court case, the Little Sisters of the Poor. So, in fact, Obamacare does cover abortion. So, Mr. Stupak probably is stewing on that right now about how much of a colossal failure his big stand against abortion was when he believed that the administration would honor it instead of going over his head and eventually forcing companies and other providers to, or company provided health insurance to fund abortion. So, moving on, it did pass in the end. I think it was a 219 to 212 gap in the House. The Democrats, even though they had a massive majority, they only won it by 7 votes, and there were 34 Democrats that voted against it. And we're going to go into now what it does provide. It has subsidized comprehensive health insurance cannot be denied for pre-existing conditions. Premium increases have to be approved by the state in which the plan is offered. We can see that today, that these massive premium increases, they are requested by the healthcare providers, and the state has to approve it. Then all the plans have to comply by whatever regulations are within the Affordable Care Act, and I'm not going to go into that. That's a massive document. In fact, it's so massive, the Washington Post tried to fact check the Republicans who were mocking its size. They couldn't even find the correct amount of pages that was in it. So this is the only time I've ever seen where a fact checker couldn't figure out which facts to check. That's how complicated the Affordable Care Act is. And then in order to enroll in a health care plan on Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, you could either go on the National Healthcare Exchange, healthcare.gov, or on a number of healthcare exchanges serving a total of 24 states. I think two of the states must have been Nebraska and Iowa. They had the joint exchange, but I believe that exchange has already collapsed. And in fact, 17 of the 23 exchanges have already collapsed, meaning that when you have that sort of just a wave of complete failures, what does that indicate? It indicates the business model itself is not feasible. When it just happens time after time after time, how many times does it have to happen before? In states like Oregon, Illinois, I think in Illinois it was very recently. It was in August. So, simply put, how many times does it have to happen before the president, before the Secretary of Health and Human Services, before all these fancy pants politicians start realizing that they've gone and created this system that is just a complete jack in the box, that you open it up and it just fucking pukes all over your face. That's what the Obamacare exchanges are, and they've all fallen one after another. The other 6 are bound to fail. There's no way for them to keep going, because as you'll see, the actual product is not all it's cracked up to be. So let's talk first about who these people are that motivated the Congress and the president to get it through the legislative process. First of all, of course, there is the president himself, Mr. Obama, House Speaker Pelosi, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid of Nevada. Sorry I didn't put it out there. You have the theory behind it from Jonathan Gruber of MIT. He's featured down there with his stupid book, where he basically treats the American people as children who can't understand that they're being shafted by legislation that's tens of thousands of pages thick, if not more. And I don't have to back it up because apparently the Washington Post can't even figure out how long this bill is. So your stupid children's book isn't really going to hack it as far as explaining it. And then there's Ezekiel Emanuel, who is the brother of the mayor of Chicago, Rahm Emanuel, who is one of the other theoretical bosses of the exchange. He's been kind of hammered on TV in the past week or so because he can't explain why the premiums are exploding. And then you have the third front, which is the press, where Paul Krugman of the New York Times, I've gone after him a lot of times. I call him the Nobel Prize in Quackonomics. When you just say whatever the fuck is convenient for you, and you say, well, I say it's so it's gotta work. If I say that Obamacare is gonna work, then it's working. I mean, I don't care if you're fucking paying rates that a few years ago would have looked like pure mafia extortion, but in the end, you're being covered, ain't you? Just like I covered your bowling alley from getting burnt down by fires. You know how bowling alleys always get burnt down by fires. Ain't you glad that you're paying me all that money to the fire insurance? That's the type of attitude that these people have. Paul Krugman, Jonathan Gruber. Gruber himself was caught on camera once saying that they had to deceive the American public, or the expression was the lack of transparency is a good weapon. I think that's what he said, that their advantage was that there was no transparency. Nobody could see what they were trying to do, and therefore nobody tried to understand, which is kind of why I have this presentation now. This presentation doesn't even begin. It doesn't even scratch the surface of understanding all the awful ways that this disgusting law has affected the American people. And I'm getting to that later. I'm not, we're going to go through a couple more slides, and then you're going to get the full treatment from the bold like a leopard. Obamacare came out in 2013 as a functioning program, and there were a lot of software issues with healthcare.gov. It was a daily story how poorly it was performing, but eventually they did get their act together on that front. And then enrollment, I think every year it was a story how good it was, how bad it was. I think in 2014 it actually exceeded enrollment. So we're not going to go and pretend that Obamacare has never had any successes, but this year enrollment was 13 million, and the issue is that we're going to see soon, I believe, people just leaving it, and the people who are joining it, they're not helping it, because the next bullet point, the low premium, the exploding premium cost is really the issue that's taking up all the airspace now, because yeah, I'm kind of being a little kid here, but when you have massive rate increases in states like Oklahoma, Delaware, and New Jersey, that's just a small sample. I could have gone. I think Minnesota had 50% increase for 2017, which has been approved already. And the governor of Minnesota, Mark Dayton, who's a famous Democrat known for his stupid handling of the Black Lives Matter protests and one of the police shootings. So Mark Dayton has already stated that the Affordable Care Act is no longer affordable, which is a public relations disaster for the bill, because his state is actually the exact type of state where they wanted the bill to be a huge success, and it just hasn't taken that effect. In fact, in a lot of these Midwestern states, it's just been a challenge to get people to sign up. So why is it that these healthcare premiums are going up? Well, one of the reasons is that you have people signing up that they have pre-existing conditions and they have automatic claims once they join. So those claims are boosting the premiums in any case. The deductibles were already. I didn't write this down. Maybe I should have. You know, this presentation isn't being submitted to anybody, but one of the reasons that premiums were able to be kept so low at the beginning was that the deductibles were so high. And I could probably show you very briefly in a couple minutes an example of that, but we were talking about for a single person premiums of let's say $150, while the deductible would be $7,000. I'm not an insurance expert, but you don't have to be one to understand that that's simply a disparity. You're paying a low rate at the front end, and it's very good for you as long as you don't file a major claim and then just get hosed. But that was not good enough for the insurance companies that were hit with just exploding costs from all the new claims. So what they depend on is that they'll sign people up and you get loyal premium payers that the majority of their business is, just basically free money. They pay every month and they don't file any claims, or they file small claims like for doctor's visits, or routine doctor visits, and the co-pays associated with it. And that's what they were going to make their money from. But it didn't happen that way, because the target market is exactly the type of people that are high-risk patients. They've been holding back on their health coverages for years, their health procedures for years. So now they need to get those procedures done, and that's why they sign up for these insurance plans. So automatically when they joined, what happened? You just had this exploding premium trend that it's just going to keep going that way. The people who are going to keep signing up for Obamacare are exactly the type of people that are going to keep the rates climbing higher. And I believe a lot of people that are not needing to file claims, the ones that are the low maintenance customer client, a lot of those people will probably opt out of the exchange at some point and go back to just suffering the penalty, the tax, which we haven't addressed yet. So we're going to see just plans that are full of high-risk patients, and that's just going to send the premiums just skyrocketing even more. And while I mentioned that tax, why is it considered a tax? Because unbeknownst to the people when Obamacare was passed, Obama didn't define it as a tax. I think he defined it as a fee. And that fee was going to be charged to whoever did not have healthcare insurance for an entire year by the IRS. And the Supreme Court, in one of the more famous decisions of his term, under Justice John Roberts, I think his name is John Roberts, they passed a decision saying that Obamacare would be constitutional if it was to be considered a tax on the non-insured when they would fill a term in every year. So basically, I just garbled that up, but the penalty that was described as a fee by the Obamacare marketers for the uninsured is actually a tax. They didn't want to call it a tax for public relations reasons, but now we do know that it's a tax, and it's a penalty tax. So we're basically saying to people, either pay for high premiums for healthcare that you do not necessarily need as much. We're talking about the low maintenance users, or you will pay a tax. So it's a punitive program for a lot of the people who originally were excited to get health insurance for their routine checkups and things like that, and they're now having buyer's remorse and they're leaving. So they're saying, I'm willing to pay a higher tax in exchange for nothing. But that's not going to continue forever, and I'll explain perhaps why that's not going to be a feasible long-term solution either. So I did go, and you can do this too. Go to healthcare.gov. I filled up just a fake profile. It doesn't. You're not creating a profile. You just go through the motions and select a few options. I mean, you're not doing anything bad. And I picked a 20-year-old male from Manchester, New Hampshire, with medium healthcare needs. That meant 2 doctor's visits a year plus a lab procedure. And I did get these numbers that even for the bronze plan, which is an average of $224 a month, you still end up paying 8.7% of your gross income to Obamacare. This is for 2017. For the silver plan, it goes up to 10.48. For the gold plan, it goes up to 13.62. For the platinum plan, it's actually less. You're actually paying almost $500 less than for a gold plan. The explanation for this is that I think on the exchange there were 2 plans on the platinum market and there were 13 on the gold market. So there's just a wider variety on the gold market. So I wasn't really checking the particulars of the plans. You can do that yourself. This is sort of an exercise that on your part you can go on healthcare.gov. Tell me, do you think that this is a reasonable product that you would buy? And if you do, come back to me and give me the numbers. And I'd like to know, are you willing to pay 12%, 13% of your yearly income on this insurance coverage? Because I don't believe that's the way it was supposed to be, or at least it was conceived to be by the original planners. So this is the rant part of the presentation. And why do I have Hillary Clinton there? Because she's going to keep doing it the same way it was. And we're getting to the part where, what are we doing here? Okay? Why is it that I have this opinion page, bold like a leopard? I've invested a little money in it too. I'm not really getting any yield from it because I'm not selling any merchandise. I'm not selling any services. It's basically my investment in trying to avoid a future that I'm afraid of. Because, look, Mr. Obama has done a lot of things that have pissed off a lot of different people. Whether you disagree with his policies on fracking, whether you disagree with his policies on the Philippines and China, you could probably, I have a lot of these friends that are, big APAC people. They can't believe he signed this agreement with Iran. The fact is that they're getting screwed because they believe anything he says. I mean, why should he? Why is he even responsible to them? They don't even. They're basically throwing good money after bad. But that's a different issue. There's a lot of people have a lot of very deep animosities towards Mr. Obama. Some of these people they just talk about things that don't even matter, like whether he's a Muslim or whether he was born in the United States. Look, at the end of the day, you have to talk about the big change that he's made. Years from now, he's going to be remembered as one of the most charismatic people to ever be propelled into public office, and there's nothing you can do about it. He has that winning personality. So don't even try to go and make this an issue about Obama the man. I believe that Obama the man came into this healthcare reform issue, and he truly convinced himself that he is going to fix it by force of his own personality, which is the danger of it. And instead of getting the solution that progressives wanted, which is a single payer option, or obviously he was not going to go for the free market option, President Obama went and got himself into some sort of Faustian bargain. That's what a lot of these pop political analysts are talking about it now. Dinesh D'Souza says it's a lot Faustian bargain. Basically, it's a deal with the devil. He went to the insurance company, said, "Yeah, we're gonna go and you'll get your part of it. You're gonna make your profits, and I'm gonna make my legacy that I extended all this health insurance to millions of uninsured Americans." But what in actuality happened is that Obama feathered the nest of these insurance executives. They were able to come back and say, look, we know the insurance industry. You don't insure people that are high risk. So we're not going to go and absorb all this cost and not get our profit from it because our shareholders are going to pull out. And what did Mr. Obama do? Well, for the first couple of years of Obamacare, there was this sort of funny business going on where he was appropriating money illegally from Congress, and eventually they sued him, and the courts ruled that he could not make those appropriations. So what has happened since that tactic has dried up is that these subsidies that have kept Obamacare plans solvent and afloat have been removed. So these healthcare providers, these insurance companies, rather, are just pulling out one by one, and you're being left with the small fry, and we're not going to be able to shoulder the plans, and the plans are just going to be exploding. So that just gets me to where I think that Obamacare is uniquely the worst policy domestically of any U.S. president that I can think of, and I didn't really think it through that far, but even Lyndon Johnson with all of his massive entitlement programs, I think he did go and think them through very well, and maybe in the long run they didn't work out, but you didn't see a complete collapse of order like there has been with Obamacare. And I'm tired of hearing it. And why I'm angry about Obamacare and not the other issues. Look, I've written about gun control. I've written about race relations. I've written about the relationship between police and the citizenry. I've written about the drug reform. I've written about Native American issues, where we still don't, after hundreds of years of abusing these Native Americans, we're not acknowledging them as the worst treated people in the history of this country, which we should. It doesn't matter what side you're on, if you're conservative or you're liberal or you're Republican or you're Democrat or you're Green or you're Libertarian. That's a major issue that nobody's really paying any attention to, the Native Americans. But why is Obamacare, above all, the worst abuse of public trust in American history? Because it was perpetrated as the gateway to hope for a new era, a post-racial America, an America where the government facilitates the care of Americans for each other, and it's turned out to be the complete opposite. We're seeing the government has given the health insurance companies an easy way out, and a fairly easy just parachute out of exploding rocket ship, just so that they can prove that private insurance does not work. But it's a complete falsehood, and they've perpetrated this fraud on us. And if you are going out there this month for early voting, and then next month would be November 8th for the election, you have to go out there and you have to reject this bitch on screen, Madam Secretary Hillary Clinton, because it's her dishonesty and lack of integrity on Obamacare that is going to cause you, if you allow her to become president, to have probably the worst financial situation in the history of American public health in terms of paying for health insurance. Because what's the option that's at hand? She wants to come and strengthen Obamacare and fix it. What does that entail? It could be one of two things. Either you leave it alone and let it continue to fester the way it is, in which case I don't believe it can be strengthened and restored, or you bribe these companies to come back onto the exchange, which is essentially extending corporate welfare to them. And then the third option would be scrapping the whole exchange and going to the single payer system, which, as I suspect, I don't believe that any of the parties in Congress are gonna want to go for that. They're just too far in the bag for insurance companies. But I could be wrong. The narrative now being pushed is that Obamacare was passed as a precursor to universal health care. So I'm getting kind of sleepy right now. It's pretty late, but I kind of intended this video to be a little angrier and also a lot shorter than the 50 minutes that it is right now. I might have to re-record this, but bottom line is, if you are going to vote this year, and I'd still respect you if you didn't, you might as well not vote for any of these bastards that is running this year. But I'd say you can vote for any of these three people. You could vote for Mr. Johnson on the understanding that you're for removing the healthcare bill and going for a single market. I could also understand on the other end of the spectrum voting for Jill Stein, who wants a single payer system. I don't support it at all, but at least that's somebody who has the integrity to say what they want. Ms. Jill Stein is probably one of the most honest people that's run for president. I mean, let's say that she is a Fruit Loop, but the Fruit Loop tells the truth here, not this fraud of a woman, Hillary Clinton. And then on the other hand, you have Mr. Trump. I think I will be voting for Mr. Trump. It's either I'm voting for him or I'm not voting. And I haven't voted in 2 presidential elections. I did vote in 2012. It was a mistake. I should have just sat that one out too, because it's all the same crap, Mitt Romney and President Obama. But you can vote for those 3 people are fine choices, and I really don't care. You could say what you want about any of those 3, but they're not going to perpetrate this fraud on the American people. So, I'm just gonna let's see if I have anything else to show you before we retire for today. Yeah, let's go to the healthcare.com website, .gov. So for that, here are all the plans for 28-year-old from New Hampshire, I mean. And you can see that there's a $124 deductible or premium with a $7,150 deductible. And on the other hand, you're seeing those numbers converge as the premiums go higher, which is typically the case in insurance industry, except for here. Oh wow. I mean, we're still talking about a major commitment for a 28-year-old person. $232.57 a month. I think that's a disgrace to Obamacare, and these are the bronze plans. Let's keep going. You go down the list, you're just more of the same shit. You're just rising and rising. Silver plans, $268. So I'll let you go there. Go to healthcare.gov, fill out your own questionnaire, and tell us how it went for you, because I could talk about Obamacare and I could rant about it and I can just vent to you, but in reality, unless, okay, if you already have it and you're already suffering from it, I don't need to tell you anything. But you should be more pissed off than I am. I don't buy Obamacare because I've been avoiding it because of my expectation that this would have happened. But those of you that have not encountered this, those of you that have allowed this travesty of public policy to occur, and you're just allowing it to happen, you have to let your cry be heard, or at least figure out where would you be if you had to buy Obamacare. That's a scary situation in some of these states. I mean, I'm not going to run 5 more uh, plans or scenarios from other states, but look, you have to decide. Are you ready to allow another person to take office and just perpetuate the lies that you've heard for 8 years? Are you ready to go back and reassert the independence of this country, the independence of yourself in the market, or the license of the individual to affect change in the government? If you are, you can't vote for Hillary Clinton. She's just gonna return us to the same taskmasters, these tax collectors that are punishing people for not participating in insurance plans. So that's the real criminality of this administration, the Obama administration, and you're just going to be perpetuating that if you vote for Hillary Clinton. I think you should go out there, vote for somebody else. I am going to vote for Mr. Trump. I think that he poses the best alternative to the Clintons, even if he's not the alternative I would have chosen, Mr. Or Dr. Rand Paul from Kentucky. But we have to start from somewhere. I think this is somebody who can change things for the better, given the right counsel. So, but you can make your own consideration. I've never disparaged anybody who wants to vote for Johnson or for Stein, even for those people who want to ride in Bernie Sanders, the people that supported him in the fall. Or in the spring, I think that a lot of their positions have been validated. We just have a different approach to it. But we all know that the system, the way it's been configured, has been a failure. So I'm going to leave you now. So it's bold like a leopard. And we'll see you soon. Hopefully not supporting that skanky bitch Hillary.